do here is go back.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the inaugural casting session of Bonds Cast. I don't even know if it's called a casting session, but we are here, and we're doing this. So, if you're listening, it's either because I coerced you into it, or you found this through legitimate means, which would be pretty cool. But what we're doing here is kind of a deep dive into Canada's more comical history. I'm not alone today, though. Thank fucking God. I have a lovely co-host. You can introduce yourself if you like.
Hang on a second. Bonds Cast? That's the name you decided
Yeah, you
to pick
dickhead. Introduce yourself. I'm Bon!
My name is Glenn. I'm here to...
What species are you, Glenn?
Homo sapien.
Good to
I
know.
think is the answer.
Great. All
we're
right,
looking
shut
for.
up. We are going to get started here, ideally. Glenn's here for the free content and hopefully juicy reactions because Glenn has no clue what I have in store for him here today. I've picked not even a little bit, right?
No.
Do you swear? Like, pinky promise?
Pinky promise. Lock it in with the thumb and everything.
Too far.
No, I don't think so.
So, anyhow, for this momentous occasion, we'll call it that, even though it's most certainly not, I think I picked a pretty good starting point for our listeners. I like to call it the Toronto Circus Beatdown. So, we are going to be doing a deep dive into the comically dark troves of Canada's history. Almost 200 years deep, in fact. The year we're looking at is 1855. The place, Toronto, Ontario, you might have heard of it. A city, and I'm using that term kind of loosely here, because at the time it was growing very quickly. To put it into perspective for you, Toronto was founded in 1793. So despite the rapid growth it was seeing, thanks to the addition of some of the first railways in Canada, and floods of immigrants, which would see the population more than doubling in the next 20 years, it was largely still a rough and tumble pioneer town of only 40,000.
They obviously had circuses there. Thus the title.
Well, you're cheating now. But circuses were a thing, and they came to towns. It kind of had an equally rough reputation to match. Along Yonge Street, which is essentially their main street at the time, there were 68 taverns.
Must have been pretty new.
It was young.
Yeah.
68 taverns. An average of one tavern every 1,200 meters and 152 taverns in total.
Holy fuck.
You couldn't walk more than a kilometer without encountering a tavern. In addition to those taverns, there were 203 beer shops and many, many brothels, also known as body houses back then.
What was there to do in Toronto back then that made everybody, such an alcoholic? Nothing?
The pioneer ages?
Or too much?
Literally nothing, man. They fucked hookers, drank beer, and went to taverns everywhere. Is essentially what I'm gathering. Dark times back then. They didn't have wonderful podcasts like Bonds Cast. Anyhow. So in the summer of 1985, July to be exact. Hot days. Not as hot as now because, global warming didn't really exist. We hadn't fucked shit up yet.
What about global cooling?
Still, it was normal, average temperature then, right. I think. I don't know, maybe it was fucked up also, but I'm assuming it was hot in July. I hope. I don't care. Toronto was actually host to 2 major riots in July alone. The best part about these riots, I can say best part, right? Like, that's not fucked up. Talk about riots and
I think everyone knows pretty good examples of worse riots.
Yeah,
Like, I don't. They're generally not
It was just these is
awful.
just like a group of douchebags. They're. You'll see. The best part about these riots, though, was they were both spearheaded by firefighters.
So, like, greased up, shirtless dudes that are just ripped.
Disgusting, pioneer,
Oh.
toothless.
Oh.
The
Not like the firemen today.
no,
Oh.
far from.
Oh.
So that image you have,
Mm.
180 it and like minus 100.
Well, I
and
guess they'd all have beer bellies because there's a bar everywhere.
I assume they just put out the fires with beer. I don't know.
Yeah, they just
That's
pee-
why they were
just
everywhere.
pee
They
on the
just-
fires. Yeah. They all gotta go anyways.
So a little backstory on these firefighters. Back in these days, there were no central public or government-run firefighter facilities. Like, it was all...
It was
It was
just kind of volunteer.
It was exclusively handled by companies of volunteer firefighting brigades. So there wasn't any, like, regulated or controlled government groups that did the firefighting. It was just groups of liquored up dudes who were like, let's go fight a fire! I can
Yeah.
put it out with my piss!
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it was good they had somebody to do this shit, but not necessarily...
Did they have, like, fire horses?
Oh,
Did they paint them
did not paint them red,
Oh.
but they actually chugged their fire engines along with these horses.
Oh.
But so with these private firefighter brigades, whenever a fire broke out, it was kind of all the nearby companies, they'd rush to this fire to be the first ones on site so they could call dibs.
Dibs.
It was by dibs. So if you got there first, you got to fight the fire.
Just because you want to be, like, a hero?
You wanted to be the guy fighting the fires.
Aye.
They didn't get paid for it, but if they were the boys fighting the fires, it looked good for them.
Nice.
One company in particular, the Hook and Ladder Firefighting Company, was about as far as you could get from our modern interpretation of a firefighter. And they were also directly responsible for both of the riots that I'm going to be talking about.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So they knew what they were doing. They knew how to fight fires.
Did they, though?
No, they knew how to start, like, riots.
Oh, okay.
That's what they were good at.
So it was like a front.
I think they were just idiots.
Oh.
Drunk idiots.
Mm.
Not a lot to do back then. Drinking, hookers, and more drinking.
Fighting fires.
Fighting fires. So, early July, a fire broke out in a building along Church Street. Much to the dismay of the owners of this building, 2 firefighting companies arrived on scene at the same time. One of which were our boys from the good old Hook and Ladder Company. So, you might be thinking, hey man, 2 firefighting companies, same time, like, my business is good to go. These guys are going to put it out. I'm saved. Like, everything's amazing. You'd be completely wrong. Like, unbelievably, totally in every way wrong.
The fire doesn't get put out, does it?
Something gets put out, but the fire's burning. Rather than fight the blaze, the crews fought one another in a brawl that would become known as the Firemen's Riot.
Like, straight up fist punching, like...
They beat the fuck out of one another. Fuck you, we were here first. Nah, fuck you, we were here first. I don't know why they all sound like hillbillies, but Pioneer Town.
And the fire's still going.
Fire's going in the
Obviously.
background. It's a sick setting for a big old brawl between people who should be fighting fires, but they are fighting firefighters.
The fire was in each other's hearts.
Yeah. Totally, man. I agree. That's pretty philosophical. But, yeah, the firefighters were fighting firefighters. So, I mean, they got most of the way there. They almost fought the fire.
They were as close as they could get.
Yeah, without actually fighting a fire. When the police finally showed up on scene, they got pulled into the brawl too. They started beating the fuck out of people too, because Like I said, not a lot to do back then. So if you're not
Did somebody
fighting...
make a donut joke? Were there
No,
donuts back then?
they just beat the shit out of people. They didn't. Donuts weren't a thing. I don't even think donuts existed. It was dark times.
Those cops must be thin.
Well, the beer dude.
Oh yeah, right.
The building burned to the ground, and the riot only ended when the police finally managed to subdue and charge both groups with assault. So this is just kind of painting a picture for you what kind of company Hook and Ladder was. They're kind of the stars of our rioting session here. They know how to riot. Fighting fires.
I feel like the shop owner's just sitting there with the Jackie Chan face, like
Hands up, like,
Yeah.
so do I fight it myself?
yeah.
I don't
Can
pay
I
you
at least
guys,
have
right?
some water or beer?
Can I
guess?
use your equipment?
Yeah.
All of this is just a precursor, though, to the real juicy riot of 1855.
Oh, perfect.
July. Approximately 2 weeks after all those events, or event, I guess, the shop burning to the ground and everybody beating the shit out of each other, Toronto was
I hope
host...
he had insurance.
No, I don't think that existed. Nothing existed in 1855, except beer and hookers. Toronto was host to part of a touring show from the U.S. called the S.B. Howe's Star Troupe Menagerie and Circus, who were only in town for a couple days, along with the clowns they had on their staff. I guess they'd be staff? Or is it a lifestyle? You're a clown for life.
I think so. I think it's a lifestyle.
You don't
I think
get
it
out of
starts as staff, but like
once you get sucked and you're like,
Yeah.
well, I'm a clown now.
yeah, I think they come to terms with it. And
You put that on your resume? Or do you just...
Why do you need a resume? You're a
you
clown
just
for
stay
life.
a clown?
You're a clown for life.
All right.
Who's gonna fire a clown? Nobody. That's who.
I guess, yeah, they're slim pickings. Especially back then.
Yeah.
Nobody was funny back then. That's a fact.
I wonder how many clowns fit in a carriage.
100?
Had to be a lot.
200. We'll call it 200. That's a fact also. You can fact check me. So that circus had already performed a few sold out shows that day, and it was actually a rare big draw to Toronto City that was just kind of started coming into its own. Like, newer city, they don't get a lot of major attractions like this, so this circus was a big deal.
Bringing all the people to Yonge Street and making it Old Street.
Damn right.
Hell
It's
yeah.
the 6th Street now. Dope-ass Street.
Oh,
Sick motherfucker street.
nice.
They not only clowns though. They didn't only have clowns. They had acrobats, equestrian trick riders, and a bunch of exotic animals from
Nice.
big cats, elephants, and
Had to
even
have elephants.
a giraffe. Man,
What?
giraffes were like mythical creatures. Like, how do you get a giraffe to Canada in 1850? How do you do that? How do you get a giraffe to Canada in 1855? Like, you
And
are
really tall. Oh, you know the Tetris L block? Kind of like that.
but a boat. They made it
Well, like
float.
on the boat, but the crate that it's in will look like the Tetris L.
That is the most ergonomical shape for a giraffe.
It would
You
be.
can fact check that also. So this big draw, Toronto, just coming into its own. I want to just point out as well that much like Toronto, its firefighters, and the rest of the 19th century as a whole, these were not the kind of clowns you wanted to fuck with.
I bet you those clowns fought a mean fire too.
I think anybody could fight fires then. They could start their own fire company.
As long as they're there first, right?
Clown and Sons, water out of a... I'm going to stop. I don't know where I was going with that one. But they'd do it. Stomping on it with their big
The
shoes.
company's called This Fire Ain't Clowning Around.
They were a rough and rowdy bunch of dudes also. They could fuck people up. Everybody back then...
Was a brawler
Basically, everybody fought something.
and a drunkard.
Just not usually fires, because,
Mhm.
who does that? That's lame. The circus had just finished up with one of these sold-out shows, and the clowns had the rest of the night off.
Perfect.
Rare
I'm gonna
occurrence.
guess they're going to a bar on Yonge Street.
You'd
No?
be close.
Oh, damn it.
But, you know, like, it's a non-stop lifestyle being a clown. Like, it's rare if you
True.
get a night off like this. So, of course, they decided to take advantage of the local nightlife. And with all the brothels, taverns...
Could you imagine the bar hopping on that street?
You could walk out of a bar and then trip into another bar.
Damn.
It would be like if you were drunk.
Probably
and
no
trying-
cover either.
No, I don't think they did. I think charging cover would
cheap.
just clean people out.
Yeah.
If you were drunk trying to get home, you just keep staggering into more bars and
Yeah.
think you were trapped.
Sooner or later, someone would push you to your house.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what else you can really do then, though. Just figure out how to get home. It's just like an alternate reality where only bars exist. But yeah, with all those bars, brothels, everything to choose from, they had options. So many options. They settled on a brothel near the corner of King and Jarvis and decided to file in. More than ready
They were
to...
gonna try and stuff as many clowns into a nice young lady as they could.
Or just the brothel, but I think...
Oh.
They charge extra for that. It's
the clowns or the brothel?
Brothel.
Oh.
Clown premium.
Mm.
It's a lot.
Yeah, I believe
Clowns make a lot of money. They're loaded. That's why they wear such big shoes. They can afford them. Not anybody can buy big shoes like that.
It's true. It's true.
Anyway, they settled on a brothel on the corner of King and Jarvis, jumped in, and were ready for a good time. But the rest of the night would go unpredictably awry. Totally off of what it doesn't involve the hookers and beer like they want. It is a whole nother gambit. The clowns happened to pick the worst possible brothel to visit.
Why is that?
Do you want to take a guess?
The firemen were there?
This brothel happened to be the hangout for several members of a certain local fire company.
Hook and ladder
How did you know?
for $2.50.
You're correct. You
Perfect.
nailed it. So the details on kind of what transpired after the clowns entered the bar and what happened next are a little hazy. People speculate that, maybe the clowns were cutting in the hooker line. I assume they line up for the hookers.
I don't know.
Is it a hooker if it's in a brothel? It's not.
I don't know if I'd call her hooker.
Working lady. Prostitute doesn't feel right either. Exotic dancer.
Escort?
No,
But
we're an
no,
escort anywhere.
like they don't go very...
I'm just gonna go with
Girl? Or you
Female.
could call her by her name.
the Wayman. So they were in the line for the Wayman. Maybe one of the clowns was being particularly loudmouthed, which I could absolutely believe.
Honking his nose and everything.
Clomping around with his big stupid
Yeah.
shoes.
Yeah.
Or maybe they just simply bumped into one of the hook and ladder boys. What we do know for sure, however, hard concrete facts that you can fact check, don't actually, but maybe, is that these clowns kick the ever-living fuck out of the firefighters. A fight broke out, and at least 2 of the firemen were seriously injured and had to be dragged to safety as the rest of the hook and ladder company
There's
retreated.
a ref.
There was. All the fights were reffed back then.
Oh.
As the rest
at
of
least
the
they were kind of safe about it.
yeah.
So they stop it like knockout?
It keeps it official. So the hook and ladder, they beat the shit out of everybody. They were the
Yeah.
reigning champs.
Yeah.
Clown
Well,
boys
no.
roll into town, upsetting the whole balance.
Yeah.
So at least 2 of these firefighters were seriously injured and had to be dragged to safety as the rest of the hook and ladder company retreated, leaving the clowns to drink and screw in peace. So yay clowns. Serving up some justice for the poor.
Yeah, they got all that testosterone going now. Now they want to just fuck anything that moves, I guess.
The clowns?
Yeah.
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 They've got a lot of testosterone normally. They exude it.
It's just pouring up. That's why they have the shoes.
Clowns are manly
They store it in the shoes.
Yeah, and they store everything in there.
Yeah.
Um,
Car keys.
yeah. Well, horse keys.
Yeah, I guess.
Start up your horse.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just some like sweet justice for that shop owner whose shop burned down, right? Beating the
Yeah,
fuck
I bet
out of
he's
these.
feeling pretty bad about it.
Yeah. Beating the dicks off these firefighters who did anything but fight fires. But if you're thinking like, oh yeah, go clowns, I've got news. More happens. The hook and ladder fellas, they know a lot of people. Have a lot of friends. So
the firemen back then are sounding more and more like mobsters.
they're basically thugs. They
Nice.
drink, go to brothels, and beat people up. Don't
And
fight fires.
Fight the occasional fire.
If they're not drinking.
Tastefully.
Yeah, if they're not
Tastefully.
drinking or beating people up.
Yeah.
They've got their priorities
If they're not
straight.
busy.
Yeah. Another important detail about Toronto back then is that it was almost entirely run by a group of Protestant Tory elites, which sounds like
Today.
a horrifying a horrifying group to have in complete power.
Yeah, I can believe it.
They were all members of a group called the Orange Order.
Orange Order.
Yes, it
That
was.
sounds pretty mysterious.
It's essentially a Protestant fraternity.
Oh.
Yeah, so they bro down, drink beers, and beat people up, just like the firefighters.
And haze each other
Yeah, I can see
for
it.
initiation.
That's why they let that guy's shop burn down. It was initiation.
That makes sense.
Orange Order. So they all hung out together at the Orange Lodge, and made sure that other Orangemen got all the important jobs in the city. So the groups in power, they basically made sure anybody in their group got all the priority jobs, anything that was juicy, good, desirable. The police at the time were pretty much all orange men also.
Uh-oh.
What do you think about the firefighters?
I'm going to guess they're orange men as well.
They are orange dudes. They're the orange
They-
men.
Just this group, though, not all of the firefighters. Or is it, like, pretty much
Not all of them, because it's private companies, but
Mhm.
Hook and Ladder in particular.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's a yes from me.
So, yeah. Usually, though, the orange men and orange, group in particular, like, in general, they would focus their efforts on beating up Catholics.
Jesus.
That was
Oh.
their...
Quite literally, I guess.
That was their go-to. They just love beating up the Catholics. Like, what are they doing there in our orange territory? But they were more than willing to make the occasional exception, as we saw when they were beating up other firefighters. And...
Oh, yeah, I guess, hey?
Hmm.
So,
So,
gotta still kind of look good.
beating up Catholics or beating up firefighters?
Firefighters.
I mean, it does look better than beating up Catholics, I guess.
Probably.
Or not fighting fires.
Yeah.
So, the day after the fight at the brothel, which just so happened to fall on Friday the 13th of July.
Really?
Yeah, just a fun little
That's a silly fact.
fun fact for you. A crowd began to gather around the SB House Star Troop Menagerie and Circus. I know how to speak English. I do. An angry orange crowd, which
Oh.
in any other circumstance would sound pretty funny, I think. the orange men are here! Oh no, what are they gonna do?
Die?
No, these guys,
Everything orange?
they're pretty angry.
Oh, boy.
And they kind of run the show right now. So, orange men are not to be fucked with. But they got fucked with, and so they got called in. The troop had pitched their tents along an area called the Fairgreen. It was a big grassy space along the waterfront, and around the circus, a bunch of merchants and farmers set up their stalls nearby to try and grab some of the business generated by the circus.
As they're walking by, of course.
Yeah, because it is a big deal, right?
Hell yeah.
Genuinely, back then, Something of this magnitude, especially from, the States.
Simply unheard of.
Not unheard of, but
In that area.
new pioneer town, it was a big deal. So there was money to be made. They basically told all these guys to get out, get the fuck out of here. The Orange Men did. They let them know, hey, there's some shit going down. We're gonna be starting some shit. And you maybe don't want to be here when it happens. Otherwise, we're just gonna beat you up too, because that's what. Are you Catholic? Are you Catholic? Because I'll beat you up. They hate Catholics.
Yeah, sounds like it.
So this is the kind of trouble that Hook and Ladder excelled at, as we know. The Hook and Ladder boys are not the boys you want fighting your fires. Not that there was a fire here. So, why are they showing up?
Maybe somebody started one very recently.
No.
And they just happened to be in the area?
Nah, that's a lot of coincidence. So they say word reached the police department at the time before any violence broke out.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, that's what you want.
Let the police handle it.
You want them to know of any... if you let them know ahead of time, that's going to mitigate everything. But, of course, the chief of police, Samuel Sherwood, was an Orange Man. An Orangeman. Samuel Orangeman. So, that's actually how he got to be chief of police.
Oh, shocker.
Yeah, right? A desirable job. He's
Yeah.
an orange person, and he gets in. In fact, several years earlier, he'd helped to organize a conservative Tory attack on a Liberal Reform Party parade.
My goodness.
That's a policely job right there.
Yeah.
Chief of police.
Outstanding.
He did good work.
Yeah.
One of the reformers was shot and killed.
Oh?
I'm not saying, Samuel did it himself, but it's probably a cop. Maybe a firefighter. Maybe they didn't beat him to death, so probably not a firefighter.
Yeah. Probably not.
Also, probably not a clown.
Yeah. Hopefully.
So basically, when Chief Sherwood got wind of about the trouble brewing down on the fair green, he made sure to stall and take as much of his sweet time as possible before sending anybody out there.
Yeah.
And when he did, it was only a few police officers who were also all Orangemen.
Who were also probably there to just kind of slowly make their way to the scene.
So to paint the picture, all around the troop grounds, they're surrounded by a group of angry... They're not cult members, but an angry group of radicalist Tory brawlers, I guess. And so the police get called, and they're also...
Orange brawlers.
They're also the Orange Brawlers.
Yeah.
Chief of police is an Orange Brawler, and the firefighters are Orange Men. So basically anybody who could maybe help, alleviate the situation was in cahoots and ready to beat the fuck out of some clowns. And would you believe it? That's exactly what is about to happen. So, as I'm sure you guessed, by the time the police slowly sauntered their way over to, help, quote unquote, it had already started. People were... No, we're getting there. The people were throwing stones, angry mob, and while the circus performers and carnies were apparently able to hold this mob off for a while.
Yeah, all they did was rough a bunch of guys up with the clowns. What do you think the rest of them can do?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
Like a bearded lady.
Bloodbath. Oh goodness.
Yeah. She could break an 1855 Pioneer in half. That's a fact. It had already started, and they were able to hold them off for a while, but that could not last. They were vastly outnumbered by the Orange Men, and despite their best efforts, they soon...
And half the Orange Men got hooks and ladders to hit them with.
dude, that's just one company that has all that shit.
Yeah.
Imagine the other dudes. The cops! They're cops! The, like, off-duty dudes are probably there. We're gonna beat up some clowns.
Yeah.
It's Friday night! What do you want to do?
Let me grab my coat.
What are we doing tonight, Larry? Let's beat the fuck out of some clowns! Like, fuck. So yeah, despite their best efforts, they soon found themselves completely overwhelmed. It wasn't until our boys, our main bros from Hook and Ladder, it wasn't until they showed up that all hell truly broke loose.
Oh no.
So all the stone throwing and them getting overwhelmed and fighting, that's just like that's
scratching the surface.
Yeah. They stormed the circus, Hook and Ladder, with pikes and axes in hand.
Well, that's not their fucking name. What the hell?
They're the Pike and Axe Company. They changed their name for this brawl.
I feel betrayed.
You'd think
you've led me astray.
Well,
the whole story.
I'd argue
it was Hooks and Ladders.
Hooks and Ladders. That could be a board game. Is it a board game?
Snakes and Ladders is.
That would be terrifying if you brought snakes and ladders to a brawl.
Yeah.
So yeah, pikes and axes in hand, rushing these carnies. They overturned wagons, tore down tents, and set the big top and everything else on fire.
Well, did they fight the fire?
They fought the clowns. So they started fires and beat up
instead
clowns.
of fighting fires like they're like supposed to, they started a fire and then beat the shit out of some people
Clowns.
with red hair.
Yeah. I mean, they did their job, man. There was fires and there was fighting. Just in a bit of a different order.
Not exactly in that order, yeah.
Mm-hmm. They also beat every clown they could find to a pulp. Like, brutally.
A little bit of resentment.
It's like, they had just gotten their ass kicked by clowns. Other circus folk ran for their lives, even jumping into the waterfront to avoid the fate of their big-shoed brethren. Absolute chaos ensued. Things didn't start even beginning to cool down until the mayor arrived in person.
The mayor.
See
the orange bro?
I'm not saying
his pocket is filled with orange bro money.
There is a strong
possibility
that, he's influenced quite heavily by the orange agenda.
Shocker.
That being
Corrupt
said,
politician.
I don't know. Even then, corruption was a thing back then.
Weird.
Yeah, they weren't all just pioneers, like you might think. I know I did.
I thought they were all just drunk.
I thought they were all clowns. I thought everybody was a clown back then, but then I read this and I was like, wow, they did other things like drink and beat people up.
It's true.
So yeah, even though he was run by a predominantly orange agenda, he still didn't want to see a bunch of clowns murdered on his watch and in his city. So,
probably wouldn't look good for a brand new city.
It would be pretty bad.
I doubt the circus would be back.
Yeah, they wouldn't get too much circus attention after that.
Yeah.
He physically and literally stopped a fireman from murdering a clown by grabbing the axe out of his hand.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm thinking like Jason.
Mid-swing, like just.
It's not worth it.
Damn.
He's here to give us joy, but we still hate him. He was like mid-swing, and this clown almost got turned into two clowns. It was a good swing. It took the mayor calling the local militia to get in there and help control things to actually settle things down finally. So they had to get the militia in to stop a brawl between police officers, firefighters, other people like civilians who are orange men, and a bunch of clowns.
Could you imagine the phone call?
Yeah.
Like,
he got
how do you convince somebody that scenario is happening?
I'm assuming he jumped on FaceTime and was
Showed him it happening. Yeah.
Yo, Fred! They're beating everybody up out here.
Yeah.
Get here as soon as you can. So once the militia gets there, they start, like, they got guns and shit. So they're like, hey, everybody fuck off. This isn't, this ain't cool. This actually gave all the other poor circus troupe members time to run in and grab their belongings and escape. So all the ones that weren't beaten to an inch of their life were able to whip back, grab their shit, and get out.
Yeah.
The mayor also was trying to oversee kind of how the police were handling the situation. Not that he really gave a fuck, because everybody was in cahoots. So, obviously, the police had done next to nothing. They just watched, turning a blind eye to the massacre. Even Chief Sherwood himself had eventually shown up, but could only claim to have stopped the rioters from setting fire to the cages of the animals.
Well, that's good. Save the animals.
Yeah, but how fucked are they trying to light up? They're working with the clowns. Kill them also. Nobody would. I'm surprised they didn't try to beat up a giraffe. I'd like to see that.
Really. Giraffe's just neck swinging.
This idiot should have brought a ladder.
Yeah.
It'd be a fair
really
fight.
Or a hook to get his head down there.
Yeah. Of the 17 people who were charged in the riot. So, like...
That's it.
Put that into perspective.
That's it?
A fucking mob. 17 people got charged. Only one was ever convicted.
Yeah. I don't know if I saw him there, officer.
All of the police on the scene who, who were directly there claimed they couldn't remember any of the Orangemen who had been there. So anybody who was an Orangeman, it was like, don't think I've seen him before. He was definitely not there. Just like they had a few weeks earlier after the firemen's riot on Church. So nobody got convicted there. Place burns down. They beat the shit out of each other. Nothing.
The shop owner for starting a fire.
Yeah, you know what? They probably... He's a clown now.
Yeah, he's a clown, bro.
Most of the people who saw this or heard about it, especially the convictions and whatnot, knew it was utter and complete bullshit. Like, they were kind of getting sick of this, this power vortex that was all consumed by the Orangemen.
Yeah, no doubt.
Everybody
really
could see
put
it
into perspective.
Yes. Like, it was bullshit. And while a lot of the powerful elites and stuff were Orangemen, most of the population there wasn't. So while the influential positions were sucked up by them, it was still like the vast majority of people who just had to deal with all of this. And it kind of became more apparent as it went along, coming to a head here. So while, people were aware that this was going on, nothing would really change for quite a while. Because a few months later, after the Circus riot here, there was actually another Protestant versus Catholic riot. And once again, our good man, Chief Sherwood, his memory was quite fuzzy. Especially in terms of, was that Orange Man there?
Couldn't have been.
Hmm.
I wonder what a Protestant versus Catholic fight looks like.
I imagine just like a bunch of priests throwing holy water.
Maybe the odd pew.
And like the clowns would show up.
Oh.
Yeah.
They're still here.
Mm-hmm. No, I think...
They haven't gotten over the...
they're back for blood.
Yeah.
No. I don't know, man. I think it was more just ideologies there. So there'd probably be some firefighters. Probably some policemen. They don't have anything better to do.
They all fight until one Bible gets thrown, and it's just like
from what
hushed crowd.
What I've gathered from this is 1855 Toronto is just Fight Club, but everybody talks about it and nobody does.
So they're
their
really
actual
bad at
job.
the rules.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, that's just dumb.
Yeah.
1 and 2.
But yeah, so Chief Sherwood was like, no, definitely not anybody I know there. Those men were totally innocent. I saw them last night at the brothel, beating up clowns.
Beating up.
It's the ultimate alibi. You don't get charged for it. You get to beat up clowns, go to brothels, bawdy houses. I like that. I might start using that. And no repercussions. You just do whatever the fuck you want. A few months after that, the good old chief found himself under fire again for freeing a suspect who had been accused of robbing a bank. So he gets locked up. He's like, hey, what, are you an orange man?
How'd he free him? Did he just, open the door?
This man is innocent. He's the chief. He can do whatever he wants.
I suppose that's true.
No paperwork. He can just do whatever, man. And if you guessed this guy was an orangeman, you'd be correct also. So if you're noticing a trend too, it's a bit of a thing right now. By this point, though, so several months after all the big riot with the circus and after the events of the Protestant and Catholic riot.
So nobody died, though, yet? Nobody died in the circus?
No, nobody died at the circus riot. None of these riots were fatal. Just a lot of people got beat the fuck up. And
almost.
not a lot.
Probably almost.
Not a lot of fires were fought.
No.
They're too busy beating each other up. They should make like a reality series about this. I guess not reality, but BBC, HBO. HBO should do a
special.
It'll be just like Game of Thrones, but firefighters beating up clowns.
While there's fire in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They can, they can get all the big actors in there.
Who's big these days? Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, I could see that. Mm-hmm.
Hell, get his brother, too.
I want to see Owen Wilson as a clown beating up firefighters. I would pay any sum of HBO if you're listening.
How much would you pay him to say wow as he got hit?
Wow. A lot. That's his key phrase.
Yeah.
It rustles my jimmies.
Matthew McConaughey on that team, too.
They were beating people up, Glenn. Come on. We're not, killing them with word butter for their ear bread. So anyhow, by this time, so after all these events, everything going down, there had been a mayoral election. And for the first time in more than 20 years, a Liberal Reform Party candidate had won. So...
Damn.
No more Tories, no more Protestant Orangemen at the highest seat of power in Toronto. It was kind of a turn in the right direction. They were making some headway and getting to a point where maybe they could do some good. The city council
actually kind of surprised me back then how there was still
they found time
the basic
cast
same
votes without beating
political
people
parties
up.
And everything.
Yeah, it is actually kind of interesting.
It is.
That despite how far
we haven't
strayed, ideologies have changed, but we haven't strayed too far from the roots of, how things were founded.
Yeah.
Voting back then was done by putting two clowns in a ring and having them fight to the death. No, I'm just kidding. No. I wish. That could be in the HBO series.
One's wearing red, one's wearing blue, and whoever wins gets...
They're hitting each other in the nose and they're squeaking. That's one vote for the Tories.
Yeah.
So the city council called for a deep reform on how the Toronto police force was run, which obviously really had to fucking happen. They were very corrupt.
Obviously.
The government of West Canada agreed, which was essentially what they called all of Ontario.
Oh.
Yeah, it was weird.
There was no Berta back then.
And an inquest was launched, leading to the complete overthrow of the old system. Very surprising. Like, shocking, really. Every single officer was fired, and a new police force was created from scratch. Like,
damn.
Unheard of, essentially, at the time.
How'd they know they weren't getting the new guys were orange either? They didn't.
Unfortunately, more than half the old constables would eventually be rehired, and it would take more than 100 years to finally purge the Orangemen's stranglehold on power in Toronto.
Wow.
As long as they didn't let a clown slip in, like,
yeah,
that's not good for
clowns and Orange Toronto just don't mix.
No, it's a bloody feud dating back hundreds of years. To this day, actually, clowns are considered second-class citizen and have to fight for their rights.
Claw, tooth, and nail.
Mm-hmm. Squeaky horn, curly hair, and big shoe. So, despite, bullshit, those guys getting rehired, they did do some good. Half the force was, new, not orange. And some of the highest seats in power in Toronto were no longer held by, the orange group's power. It also led to the foundation of Toronto's modern police force. So it's basically where they started the base roots of what would eventually evolve to the system that Toronto uses now. Yeah. And that is basically the conclusion to our look into how a bunch of clowns got beaten up in 1855 by firefighters not doing their jobs.
I think at this point it's pretty safe to just call them guys. Like, I don't know if I'd call them firefighters.
They're just fighters.
Yeah, they're just fighters.
They could, pick a new name. Hook and Ladder. Hook and Fist. Fist and Fist, not firefighting company.
Hook and Haymaker.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I like that. Pitch that to HBO also.
Yeah, HBO if you're listening.
We're going to clean up. I want to be in the show, though. I'll be a clown. I'll be Police Chief Sherwood. Get that man out of here. But yeah, that is basically it for our first podcast. Inaugural, indeed. Not just the first.
Yeah.
First of many, I hope. Weekly, perhaps? You'll have to find out. It'll be weekly. But yeah, so I hope everybody who's listening enjoyed it. I'll be back next week with some more
juicy details.
Not about the same thing, just more unreal things you definitely didn't know about Canada. And there's actually a lot. I feel like it's largely underrepresented, and it's kind of good and really interesting to look into this stuff. So I guess we'll end it here. Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you.
Oh,
I definitely didn't know that a bunch of clowns got beat up back then, and the Orange Party and all that.
I'm very passionate about clowns getting beaten up now. I'm an advocate for clown rights. It's swayed me.
Yeah, my Google searches tonight are going to be weird. But
weirder than normal?
Probably, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. But did you have fun?
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
I don't give a fuck.
Oh.
That's not why you're here.
All right.
You're here for the free content.
I didn't even get a coffee.
Good. Don't expect it next time either. Thank you, everyone. I'm Bon. This is Bon's Cast. Tune in next week, and hope you enjoyed it.